Alfas always have looked different from the other cars, and are the sort of cars that are loved by everyone. And probably the Alfa that does these two things the best is the Alfa Romeo SZ. The SZ is unique compared even to other Alfas. The SZ is not beautiful, but definitely not ugly. The SZ just looks so unique, something that makes the SZ a car with a cult following. So hello guys and welcome back to another Patreon video, and here is the story of the Alfa Romeo SZ. The story of Alfa Romeo SZ began in the late 80s. In 1986, Alfa, after lots of financial problems, was bought by Fiat. Fiat wanted to bring Alfa back to its glory days. At the time, Alfa was only building the 33, 90 and the infamous Arna.
And here it is, the Alfa Romeo Arna. Now, it might have worked if they'd married Japanese build quality to Italian design flair, but they did it the other way around. So what we ended up with was a terribly ugly Nissan Cherry that had Alfa Sud electrics. Can you imagine anything worse? I was extremely disappointed to find that they actually made 62,000 of them, but then quite cheered when I called the DVLA the other day and found that on the roads of Britain, only 341 are left. Make that 340.
The only sport cars that they were making at the time was the Spider, which still was enjoying good sales. The first car to come under the Fiat ownership was the 164. The 164 had been under development since the late 70s, when Alfa was still a separate brand. In 1978, Fiat, Lancia, Saab and Alfa Romeo started working on the new platform for front-wheel drive sedans, and all had to build cars based on this platform. The first cars that were introduced were the Saab 9000 and Lancia Thema in 1984, while Fiat introduced the Chroma 1 year later. The 164 came in 1986 and was completely different from the other cars. While Thema, Chroma and 9000 were basically the same cars, just with different body panels, the 164 just shared the platform. After the 164, Fiat started looking to build a coupe, like the old Alfas. The project was called EC30, standing for Experimental Sport Cars 3.0. The 3.0 was for the capacity of the engine. The EC30 would use a similar engine with a 75 America, but tuned in order to produce more horsepower. Besides the engine, the car would be based mostly on the 75 and would share many parts with it. 3 design teams were created in order to ensure that the car would look perfect. Centro Stile Alfa with Walter da Silva and Alberto Bartelli, Fiat designer Mario Maiola and Robert Opon, and also Zagato was hired. The Zagato design was dropped early on, so Alfa's and Fiat's designs went into the final phase. Fiat Design Center won. The car shared a lot with other Robert Opon designs, especially with the Citroën SM and Alpine A310. The car looked like nothing else, and this was proved at the 1989 Geneva Motor Show, when the car made its debut. The car now was named SZ, standing for Sprint Zagato, even though Zagato basically had no contribution at all on the design of the car. The name was chosen as a recall to the old Alfas, but also because Zagato was going to assemble the cars. The press and the public loved the car. The SZ had done its job and had turned the public eyes back to Alfa. The Italian press started calling the car Il Mostro, not only for the looks, but also because of the way the SZ drove.
This is the limited edition Alfa Romeo SZ, which, when it was launched in 1989, was immediately christened Il Mostro, the monster. You may not care for the styling very much, and the body is made from plastic. You may find the two-seat interior impractical, but the pedigree is spot on. It sits on a Group A racing chassis, and with the gearbox at the back, there's perfect weight distribution. As a driver's car, it's outstanding. But the best bit of news is that it's ushered along by Alfa's incredible 3-litre V6. I still maintain this is one of the best engines ever made. In this it develops 210 horsepower, and that's enough to get it from 0 to 60 in less than 7 seconds. And then there's the noise. Oh, you'd never turn the stereo on, just listen to that.
After the good reviews, Alfa decided to enter the SZ into production. This would be a limited run of 1000 cars, which would be built over the course of 3 years. The SZ was available only in one color, Rosso Alfa, with a dark grey roof and with a tan interior. But one SZ was painted completely black. This SZ was built for Andrea Zagato. Also, a couple or so were painted yellow. In 1992, Zagato proposed the idea for a convertible version of the SZ. The RZ, how the car was going to be called, standing for Roadster Zagato, was more curvy and regular than the SZ, but this design was refused by Alfa. So Zagato did another design, which was basically a SZ with a roof chopped off. The RZ looked even more striking than the SZ. 35 RZs were going to be built by Zagato. Differently from the SZ, the Roadster was available in 3 colors, red, yellow and black. But like the SZ, the Roadster proved to be very hard to sell. From the 350 cars that Alfa planned to build, only 278 were built. Like many car makers of the time, Alfa organized cup races for the SZ and the RZ, when owners could race with their cars. Sadly, I haven't been able to find any film footage of these races, because I would love to see them. But the life of the SZ didn't end there, since in 1995 a special car based on the SZ was introduced. The car, which was called Vittoria, was built by Castagna, which was an old Italian coach builder. The design was even more controversial than the SZ. The rear part looks amazing in my opinion, and like nothing else of the time, and pretty modern. The SZ and the RZ have a big cult following, with people that really love them and are going to give everything to own one of them. Personally, I love the SZ, and it's probably my favorite Alfa ever after the Montreal.